Now, the British government have just announced their stage 3 to the coronavirus and return to competitive sports. This happened over the weekend, and it sounds like it's very exciting news, especially for the running community. But the question is it? My name's Ray Whitby, this is Aspiring Runners. Let's go find out. So they released less than 24 hours ago the idea that there could be a return to competitive sports, and it's stage 3 of 5 stages that they've got in place to take the UK sports activities back to normality, whatever the new normal may be. But the question is, it was only a week ago that they released stage 2. And the question has to be, what happened in a week to go from stage 2 to stage 3? And it doesn't strike me as there being sufficient time to have got stage 2 processes in place. But now I think I've misunderstood, quite classically through the media, what these stages are all about. I think what it's looking at is a roadmap of phasing in all the infrastructure necessary for elite sports to return to competition. And I think it's because of the status of elite sports that they do have the cash reserves and the ability to provide the correct infrastructure and supporting environment for their athletes. Because otherwise it's just almost an unnecessary burden on everybody associated with that sport. And it's not just the athlete, but it's the support crew, the coaches, the trainers, and then you're looking at associated people that could be impacted by their presence and their return into sports activities. So it could be the health workers as well. And each level could compound the potential problems. Now, within the stages, the reports that they've laid out, it does show at least that the medical advice is being adhered to, at least is being listened to, and forming part of this guidance. So they are introducing very strict measures about how the elite athletes will be able to train, under what conditions, what needs to be provided, so they are well protected. But I think the problem here is maybe just in the media and how the media is reporting just the sensational aspects of it to the public. The public are getting excited, so as runners you may be thinking, wow, competitive sports, maybe I'll be able to make that marathon later this year. But when the details of the guidelines came out, it suddenly became apparent that this is just one more stage that has to be adhered to before competitive sports could resume. Now, some sports will get there quicker, some sports slower, but the clue really is in the detailing where it says elite athletes. And I think then for the rest of the public, we are a long way off resumption of normal sporting activities. Now, there are certain events such as the New Forest Marathon that may occur in 2020, in September this year, in the south of England. But the question is, even though that they think that they can protect the individuals by having a smaller number available, can they actually physically and capably take this on without exacerbating the risk and overloading an already burgeoning system? So there are some very deep questions that need to be explored here. And as I said in a previous video, somewhere up here, even though we can potentially make ourselves safer through sporting events, using certain types of protective equipment, face masks, face coverings, I think there is still the underlying question as to whether we should actually resume running in these conditions. We have to take on the responsibility not just for ourselves, but also those that could be impacted. And I know in talking with a few runners out there that they say, if the numbers at the start line and finish line were small enough, we had face masks available, then perhaps it is a very low risk return. And it's one idea. And what I'm finding though is there's an increasing opinion at the moment, just from the people that I've sampled, that actually they're not so convinced that even with face covers, face masks, they don't want to attend these types of racing events by having to put on these types of coverings. They find it too restrictive. Some friends that are working in the NHS said they've got to wear face masks pretty much all day long They want to come home, they want to run to relax. They don't want to then have to put on yet another face mask and go. As I say, it's a small sample. What I'd love to hear from you as the running community is what you think should happen. Under what conditions would you run again? So even if we had things for race events that were spaced out, that there was plenty of room, that we had the proper protective equipment, if we had small bottles of hand sanitizer, if we could demonstrate that the impact on first aiders, for example, and the marshals was quite low, would you still run? So I'm going to put a link up to a poll. I'd love for you to participate so I can get a broader set of data in which to try and draw some firm conclusions as to what the attitude is amongst the running community. But at the moment, for the British government, they seem to be, pardon the pun, racing ahead, but actually not too traumatically, or I'd say irresponsibly. But I think the issue is that where they've said it's guidance, who's going to enforce it? Who's going to police it? Does it come automatically under the Health and Safety Executive of the UK? And this is just of Britain. What about in your country? How's it impacting your country? I'd love to know your thoughts, as well as some more details about what's happening elsewhere in the world. So please, comment down below. Tell me what's going on in your corner of the world, and tell me what your views are. Please don't forget the poll. It'd be great if you could circulate it to other runners, running buddies, your running groups, generally circulate it on social media. I'd love to know the attitude of the general public, those connected with the running community, as to what they want to see happen, what would make them feel safe before they would run again, if they would run again before a vaccine is found. Well, thank you for joining me. Just to say that it'd be great if you could click on subscribe and maybe hit that bell notification, so when we release more material, you'll be instantly aware of what's happening and be able to respond quicker. That'd be great for us. And if you liked it, please do click the thumbs up, because every thumbs up does help. So thanks for joining me, and catch you next time on Aspiring Runners. Take care.